just up here. All right. I'm in Proverbs chapter 27. If you have a device, you have something with the Bible on it, turn to Proverbs chapter 27. I'm liking this series called Proverbial because what Proverbial is basically a look at Proverbs. There are 5 books, wisdom books, glad you're doing well, 5 wisdom books in the Bible that are called really poetical books. It is Psalms, it is Ecclesiastes, it is the book of Proverbs, it is Song of Solomon, and the book of Job. Those are the 5 poetical books or book of wisdom. And what I like about the book of Proverbs is it's like the go-to book. If you don't know where in the Bible to read, like, I don't know what I should read. What should I read? It's like, for a lot of us, that's the go-to book. Because you only have to know what chapter, where should I, whatever the date is of that day, if it's the 19th, read Proverbs 19. Because it's 31 chapters. So any day in a month, it will correspond with what you can read in Proverbs. So it's really a cool book. So as I'm going through this series, there's no rhyme or reason. None of these things are connected. I just read through Proverbs, and whatever jumps out at me, that's what I talk to y'all about. Like, I'm sharing with you what I read and what I get out of it, and that's so I'm gonna look at 3 verses. I'm gonna look at verse 2, verse 8, and verse 12. And I'm going to talk about 3 things. I'm going to talk about humility in verse 2. I'm going to talk about breeding, and I'm going to talk about planning. Those are the 3 things. There is no real connection between the 3 things. That really, any connection is totally coincidental. It is not intentional. So don't be trying to say, well, where's the sermonic thread here? There is none. I'm ADD. I'm just talking about stuff whatever jumped out at me, that's what I'm going to throw at y'all. So let's start. The first thing I want to talk about is in verse 2 of Proverbs 27, and that is this: let someone else praise you, not your own mouth, a stranger, not your own lips. When the Bible says let somebody else praise you, not your own mouth, a stranger, not your own lips, when it says stranger, it doesn't mean someone who has no knowledge of who you are. Because if it's a total stranger, they can't praise you. They wouldn't know what to praise you for. What it's saying is make praise of self so foreign that it doesn't come from your mouth, which is totally antithetical or totally in opposition to our culture. There is so much self-promotion going on in our world today. Like, everybody is sizing themselves up and talking about how dope they are and how cool their hairstyles are and how dope their fashion is and how smooth their restaurant is. Everybody's self-promoting all the time, like, follow me and support me. And, like, it's so me-oriented that when you hear a verse like this, let another person praise you and not your own mouth, like, that's a collision. That's a collision of culture. A biblical worldview that says, be humble, sit down. And a secular worldview that says, brand yourself, promote yourself. And I understand sometimes that's the way you got to make money. Like, you got to self-promote. But there is something that can be said about how important it is to not self-aggrandize or to self-bloviate, to promote yourself. Let somebody else. And praise and adoration, when it comes from a distance, tends to be more authentic than when it comes from you or from your circle. Because sometimes your little circle may just be trying to just flatter you. But usually if somebody knows you well enough to know what value you add, but they don't have to know you well, that's praise you can depend upon. So I want to give you 3 humility lessons. Everybody say humility. Humble. Well, how many of you would you say? How many of you say I'm a humble person? How many of you would consider yourself humble? Just humble. All right. Well, you were before you said that. Yeah. See, before you said this, you said I'm humble. Now you ain't humble. That's pride. I'm humble. See, look at me. Look how humble I am. Well, now you wish you hadn't came up here. Paul knows I do this every year. I get people with the same thing every year. Most people know this. No, I'm not humble. They already know the move. Because humility is the one characteristic that as soon as you say you got it, you just lost it. You can't say it about yourself. Somebody else has to say that's dope. So here's the first lesson I want to give to everybody who's in business, everybody who's trying to develop a product or service. Here's what I want you to understand. I say this to people all the time in business and ministry. Focus on your steak more than you focus on your sizzle. focus more on your steak than you do on your sizzle. This is a sizzle-focused society. Everybody's, when I'm talking about people who focus more on their sizzle than their steak, I'm talking about people who promote at a level that's higher than their product. It's like the person that blows your phone up, blows your email up, blows your social media inboxes up saying, come to this, you got to check out my program, you got to come to this event, you got to come hear me perform, you got to come hear me sing, inviting your whole family, your cousins, your high school classmates, everybody, come on, check me out, come on, check me out. Then you go out of obligation because they literally sent you 27 evites and reminders and updates. Then you go, and the thing is so average, it's sickening. I remember somebody invited me. They wanted me to hear them sing, and they said, can you and First Lady come hear me sing? It's going to be all. I didn't know the person was a singer. And you got to come hear me, woo-woo. And then they could fill up a whole arena with sizzle, but the steak wasn't good. You get there. The person singing was so average. When they started singing, I thought it was a skit. I thought they were going to stop the song and go, I'm sorry, then kill. They never cleared their throat. It never changed. The singing was like that the whole time. I wanted to send them an invoice and say, give me them 3 hours back of my life that you just took from me. Stop focusing on. Your steak is what you prepare backstage. It's what you work on in the kitchen. It's your program. It's your agenda. It's your recipe. It's what you work on. Yes, it's presented on the table. Steak is presented on the table or on the stage, but it is prepared when nobody's looking. And if you got great steak, it'll sizzle by itself. When you over-promote a product that's not at the level you promote it, my mentor told me this, when your visibility, which is your branding, exceeds your ability, you lose credibility. I'm going to say that again. When your visibility, that's your promotion and branding, exceeds your real ability, you lose credibility. Now nobody wants nothing from you because you sliced it up so bad. Oh, you need to eat y'all need to have my sweet potatoes. And everybody you go there and them joints taste like Gerber's. Focus on the steak. Be humble. Not so much on the sizzle. If you got great steak, other people will slice it up for you. Here's the next thing I want to say about humility. Resist the urge to tell people how great you are. When you meet people and they don't know you, don't be like, you don't know me? You don't know my father built this. My uncle was the first black man to walk on the moon. It ain't never happened. My father, we be welling too, but my father was the first black man. He moonwalked. That was good, wasn't it? He moonwalked. He walked. My cousins, the Delphonics. That's really true. My cousins are the Delphonics. Every time I used to meet somebody from Philadelphia, I'd be like, yeah, I'm Philadelphia, remember Philly Groove? That's my aunt right there. My cousins, the Delphonics. I used that for 50 years. My cousins, the Delphonics. Resist the urge to tell people how great you are. Stop passing out cards. Stop promoting yourself all the time. If you're the president of a university, here's what you do. When you introduce yourself, just say, I work in education. You're the chancellor of the university. Just say, I work with kids. Stop having to one-up everybody. When somebody tells you, I went on an amazing vacation, and they trying to tell you about the good time they had, you be like, we done went there 6 times. About to get a little timeshare there. Have you tried Paris? Do you have to do that? Did somebody try to tell you they went to a nice restaurant and they had a good experience and the valet service was great and the maitre d' was great and the food was great and all that, and you say, man, I knew Joe when he started in this kitchen, man. I've seen him working. Man, he on my board. Stop having to one up everybody. You know what humility is? It's getting curious about somebody else's story. What do you do for a living? How can I celebrate your story without having to say, yeah, man, remind me, man, I had man, got a raise, man. I done got a raise and a bonus. Can somebody else shine? Humility is voluntary anonymity. It is choosing to be anonymous. It is choosing to not have to be identified. Some of us, we walk in the room, we want people to know, I'm here. We call ahead, say, I'm coming. On my way, hold my seat. I've been in Zion 12 years. I was on Mercantile. That's when you know people gangster, when they say, I used to go to Zion on Mercantile. So did I. I was at Zion on Mercantile. I want to talk to Pastor Battle. My mother died. We from Mercantile. Just, everybody go like this. Just bring it down. Come on, just bring it down. Bring it down. Bring a little stuff down. Bring it down. Bring it down. The Bible says, humble yourself under the mighty hand of God, and he will exalt you in due time. Humble yourself. I like that, because you don't want God to do it. Let me go ahead and humble myself. Everybody do it. Bring it down. Let me go ahead and bring it down. When you feel yourself getting swole and you feel yourself getting puffed up, just go ahead and come on down. It ain't about me. The only time you should self-promote, ideally, is when your agenda is to raise up your people. If you have an agenda that's going to help elevate people, then it's okay to promote yourself. But if all you're doing is promoting yourself, bring it down. Let another man praise you, not your own lips. It's a stranger, not your own mouth. Here's the third thing I want to say about humility. Own your mistakes. Man, this is so, you're human. You're going to make mistakes. Just own them. That's my bad. My fault. I was wrong. You know how many post-game interviews would go a lot faster if everybody in the locker room wouldn't be trying to say, well, you know, we got to all do better. We got all that. No, you the one that messed up. Just say that's on me. That's on me. My fault. I blew it. I made a poor decision. Cost us the game. We can move on. We can go on to the restaurant. You ever been in a meeting? The meeting was going on for hours and hours because nobody in the meeting is willing to admit it was my fault that things went wrong. Everybody in there protecting themselves, saying, well, we didn't get there at 9 o'clock, so it could have been us. You know, like, just somebody don't you have to point fingers? Just raise your hand. That was me. That's humility. I own my mistakes. You know how much better your relationships would be if you wouldn't argue for 3 hours trying to act like you didn't do nothing wrong? Just you can shorten that. You can shorten an argument to 3 minutes. You know what? I'm wrong. You're right. I shouldn't have did that. I'm sorry. I was wrong. Wow. Now we can cut the TV back on. That's humility. Next verse 8. I'm out of time. Verse 8. I got 0 minutes and 0 seconds left. A person who strays from home is like a bird that strays from his nest. They just never started the clock. A person who strays from his home is like a bird that strays from his nest. I used to preach that all the time, that verse. That was one of my favorite verses. And the way I would talk about it, you can see the parallel. A person that strays from his home is like a bird that strays from his nest. So you parallel a bird to a person and you parallel a home to a nest. That's an easy parallel, right? So what can you learn from a bird? Whatever's missing in the nest when the bird leaves is similar to what's missing in the house when the person leaves. So if a bird provides protection for the nest and provision for the nest and direction in the nest and its presence in the nest, if the bird strays away, then the provision is gone, the protection is gone, direction is gone, their presence is gone, and the nest suffers from the absence of the straying bird. I used to preach this all the time to men. You got to stay in your home. Stay with your family. Because when you leave your family, when you leave the nest, everything you bring to the nest is missing. Your protection is missing. Your provision is missing. Your direction is missing. Your presence is missing. Stay home. So that's the obvious way. And it's not just for men. Anybody that strays, wanders, gets off post, gets out of position. But then I started looking at this verse. This time I said, I see something different in it. It says, when a bird strays from his nest, it's like a man that wanders from his home or strays from his home. And I remember this situation back in 1995, around 1995, 1996. Vicki and I lived in a home in College Park, Maryland. We were renting a house. This house had one-car garage. The garage, you go in the driveway, you go in the garage. So it was only one car could get in there. And so Vicki would, I'm going to lose that. She's going to get the garage. So we had another car that I drove to work, and I would park on the street in front of the house. So I didn't go in through the garage. I would go through the front door. To get to the front door, I park in front of the house, walk up to the gate. It's a gate. You unlock the gate, go up the steps, and walk up towards the front door. And there were times during that time, now all of my kids are 5 years and younger. There would be times when we lived there for 2 years when there would be a nest that had been built on our porch, on our stoop. And the only reason I knew it was a nest there is because every now and then a bird would fly out when I would try to go in the house, would fly right at my head. And if I didn't duck, it would hit me in the head. Now, I'm going to tell y'all something. Preachers make up stuff to make points that ain't always true. I'm telling y'all, this is the God's honest truth. This bird was so gangster. I was like, this is the hood. You got a bird flying around. I'm like, man, what is your problem? Like, I would literally have to duck. If I didn't duck, the bird would hit me right in the head. Little bird. I don't know what kind of bird it was. I didn't know any birdology, so I'm just ducking every time I'm trying to get in my house. I'm like, this is my house. How you going to just attack me? Like, and he's like this. If he could talk, he'd be like, this is my house. So he set up his house on my house, and it ain't even my house because I was renting it. But anyway, my family was in there. I'm trying to get in the house. And I said, there must be something in that nest that's so valuable that that little bird is willing to attack a creature that's many times bigger than it to protect it. Now, let me fast forward. I didn't know anything. What I'm about to tell you now, I'm about to connect this. I was on a plane one day. That was 1995. I'm on a plane in 2018. I take the advice of Jeff Hoffman, and he says you should do something called info sponging. And info sponging is when you spend 10 minutes of your day reading and researching something that you have no interest in. It's called info sponging. You reach out to new material, it expands your brain and your thinking. And you don't know how it's going to connect, but I'm going to show you how it worked. So I'm on a plane, I'm doing some info sponging. Because you're on a plane, you don't have nothing to do. You can't walk around, you can't go, you just got to sit there. So I pull out the in-flight magazine, I start going through the magazine, and I skip over everything that looks interesting to me, that I would be interested in, and I go to this thing that I know I wasn't interested in. It's called falconry. Like, what is that? Falconry is a sport where trainers of falcons train the falcons how to hunt. And so a falconry trainer will have a glove and hold their arm like that. The falcon will be on their arm. They send the falcon to hunt, and the falcon comes back with whatever they hunted. It's really amazing. I wouldn't do it, but it's really crazy. It's amazing. So I'm studying the fastest creature in the world, which is called a peregrine falcon. I have a picture of it that's going to come up on the screen. A peregrine falcon is an incredibly designed creature. It is designed in such a way where God created this creature to breathe at high speeds without doing damage to his lungs. Because that bird is the fastest creature in the world. It can fly at 242 miles per hour. In fact, what it's called is a dive, a falcon dive, or a swoop. That's what that's doing right there. 242 miles per hour it's been clocked. Now, the G-force on this flight can't be calculated because the G-force meter explodes before the bird does. That's how powerful this bird is. I'm reading about this bird. I don't know how God's going to put this together, but I'm reading about this bird, and here's what I found out. Falcons, in fact, all birds will swoop at you and attack your head for two reasons. If it's hunting or if it's breeding season in the nest. That's the only time it will do it. That bird in front of my house was not trying to hunt me. It was breeding. There was some breeding going on. You know what breeding is? That means there was new birds trying to be developed in his nest. He was growing his family. And here's what you have to understand practically. Let me go ahead and give you my first point. Whenever you're in a breeding season, and a breeding season is when God's trying to deliver something out of your life. When you're giving birth to something, a vision or something God has given you, you have to be ready to fight. You will not deliver anything without a fight. It's called warfare. And let me be specific. What the devil is going to fight you, what the devil's going to attack is the very thing you're trying to deliver. Okay, let's do it like this. Let's say, remember when Mary was trying to deliver the Messiah? When the enemy found out the Messiah was coming through a woman's womb, all babies 2 years and under were killed by the enemy. They had to hide Jesus in Egypt because the enemy's coming after what God's delivering through you. When Jochebed was going to deliver Moses, who was going to be the deliverer of the Israelites from Egyptian bondage, when the enemy found out, same thing, killing all 2-year-old boys and younger because they're coming to kill what the enemy's delivering you. You will not deliver without a fight. Anything you try, if you're trying to deliver people financially, you want to set up tools and resources and information to help people get their financial lives together. Guess what the enemy's going to attack? Your finances. You start trying to help somebody's marriage. Watch what happens. You start trying to counsel and coach people, write books, or you just help couples over your house for fellowship. Watch what happens. The enemy is going to attack you in anything you're trying to deliver. If you're trying to deliver people out of mental health illness, guess what's going to happen to your head? You ain't never felt this crazy before. You ain't never been suicidal. You ain't never want to slit your wrist. And all that's happening as soon as you extend yourself. Look at somebody and say, you're going to have to fight. And here's the thing that gets me about Christian people. We want to do something great for God, but we don't want to be a fight. The very fact that you're in a fight is spiritual respect. Think about this. In team sports, if there's a team, if there's an opponent against a team, anytime a team or an opponent has to game plan to stop a person on another team, you don't game plan for everybody, you game plan for somebody. The very fact that a team is thinking about you and a team is thinking about how to stop you is respect for your game. The very fact that you're on the devil's mind like that, on that level, that he has schemed together a plan to stop you, shows you that whatever you're delivering is going to be so awesome that he's got to stop you from doing it. You ought to thank God that he sees enough in you. That's spiritual respect. You ain't going to get out of this without a fight. The birds, which you can learn from a bird, you can learn from a bird when it's breeding season, it's fighting season. Breeding season is not a season of luxury, it's a season of being locked in. And let me tell you something else. Let's go back to that peregrine falcon. That peregrine falcon is not only built to fly at a high rate of speed, look at its eyes. Peregrine falcons have black lines under their eyes to block out glares from the sun, so that it never loses its vision. It's never blurred vision. Have you ever seen football players or military people put that stuff under their eyes? That's to keep the sun from blurring their vision. God created them like, they don't have to do eye black. They created with eye black. Why? Because 85% of a peregrine falcon's brain power is used for vision. Woo! How's your vision? So much so that they see so well, a peregrine falcon can see a rabbit 1 mile away. Now, let me put that in context for you. If you go to a track or track and field environment where there's a track, right? Now, how many times you got to go around the track for a mile? 4 times. So you go around the track. So that means that 1 time is a quarter of a mile, right? So let's open up that circle and make that track 1 long quarter of a mile instead of a circle. Y'all got me? Now, we got 1 long track. Now, let's go to another track. It's a circle. Let's open that up and make that 1/4 of a mile and attach it to the first one. So now you got 2/4 of a mile tracks. How much is that? That's a half a mile. If you do that 4 times and you have 4 tracks that have now been opened up, you have a mile of track. Y'all got me? If you stand that track right side up, you got a mile of track going up in the sky. What I'm saying is a peregrine falcon can see a rabbit at the bottom of the mile. And because of how fast it is, it can get there in less than a second. That's scary. But you know what's powerful about it? Focus. Focus. I'm going somewhere. Watch how God connected this for me. I'm sitting on a plane in 2018. I'm having quiet time this week. God is connecting and showing me not only is that bird fighting you because it's breeding time, but you can't breed if you're not focused. The reason why falcons are so successful at breeding and hunting is because they stay focused. Let me tell you, one of your greatest enemies to your breeding season is wandering and straying. As a bird strays from his nest, so as a person that strays from their home. You can't breed if you don't stay focused. Most of you have not delivered what God gave you because you keep straying from it. It ain't even a deep spiritual fight. You just get distracted. You just don't finish. You give up your vision. Watch this. I've said this before. There are some rooms that are light, that are motion censored. There's some rooms that have lights that are motion censored. So much so that if you are in the room and the lights are on, the lights will stay on as long as they're in motion. If you leave the room, you don't have to cut the light off. If you leave the room will detect that there's no motion in here and the light will go out. Have you ever seen that? So watch this. So whenever I leave a room, I don't have to cut the light off. It happens as soon as I leave it, the lights go out. How you like that? If you're wondering why your dream is dark and your relationship is dark and your business is dark and your ministry is dark, it's because you left. Sometimes you don't leave physically, you just stop investing in it. And let me tell you this, God will give you something to breathe that's so unique to you that it'll stay dark till you come back. That's good, right? I'm going to throw a chair at myself. That's so good. It will stay where you left it. That's at best. It might atrophy. But at the end of the day, it ain't changing till you come back. And you praying, hoping somebody else get the vision, hoping somebody else, it's where you left it. You still in chapter 3 of that book. You got an outline for 10 chapters. You've been in chapter 3 for 14 years. And the reason it's dark is because what is missing is you. But as soon as you come back, as soon as you give your energy and attention to it, your investment of time into it, the light and the life comes right back into it. Straying is one of your biggest enemies. So here's 4 words I want you to write down. Here's 4 words. Whatever you're breeding, it's going to take a fight, but you have to be focused and faithful if you're going to finish. You want me to say it again? You're going to be in a fight. See, I told you don't just bring your water up here. You're going to be in a fight, but you have to be focused and faithful if you're going to finish. Just because God gave it to you don't mean you're going to finish it. Don't think it's God. You have to be willing to fight. You have to be willing to sacrifice some things. You have to be willing to not be everywhere you used to be. So when people say, how come you don't go to Buffalo Wild Wings with us no more? How come you don't be going to hang out with us no more? How come you be? I can't do that and this. When a woman is pregnant, there's certain things you can't do to deliver that baby. You got to make some adjustments. You want to do everything you've been doing, but you're in a different season. When you're in breeding season, you got to make some. Who am I talking to? Is it y'all? People waiting on you to finish. And you trying to be popular. You trying to sizzle. And the steak ain't right. So now, what can we learn from a bird? I'm going to tell you one more thing. I'm going to tell you one more thing about that bird in front of my house. Let me show you about how info sponging works. I never knew there was breeding going on in that nest. And how 2018, I'm info sponging, and God starts connecting the dots for me. When that bird was flying in my head, that's called swooping. When it's swooping in my head, it means it was breeding going on, but you can't breed by yourself. Breeding requires a partner. So here's the last thing I want to tell you. Whatever you're delivering, pray for fertile partners. You might be writing a book, somebody got to edit it. Somebody got to publish it. Somebody got to design, interior design, external design. Somebody's got to distribute it. Somebody's got to market it. Stop hooking up with people who ain't fertile, who can't execute. You can't deliver nothing with sterile people. Ooh, this is so good, I'm going to buy this tape. I'm telling you, I might get a church some money for my message. We talked about humility. We talked about breeding. Let me talk about one more thing. 4 minutes. 12. Verse 12. Listen to this. Are y'all getting anything out of this? Verse 12. A prudent person foresees danger and takes precautions. Thanks, Chris, making me look cool with the lights. They think I did that. The prudent person foresees danger and takes precautions. The simpleton goes blindly on and suffers the consequences. There's another parallel. Look at it. Let's look at it closely. So there's a comparison between prudent people and simple people. Prudent people foresees danger. Simple people go blindly on. Prudent person foresees danger and takes precautions. Simple person blindly goes on, suffers the consequence. You see that? I mean, it's kind of one person sees, makes the adjustment, another person doesn't see it, gets hemmed up. You can see that in English. What you can't see in Hebrew is the word prudent in Hebrew is singular. The word simpleton in Hebrew is plural. That's significant. That lets you know that it's always going to be a whole lot more simple people than there are prudent people. Prudence is a gift. Wisdom is a gift. Say, God, make me wise. The Bible says, get wisdom. In all you're getting, get understanding. What you cannot be in this life is dumb. You have to be wise. And when I say don't be dumb, I don't mean you can't just be smart, because a lot of smart people are not wise. Get wisdom. Get wisdom. Prudence is a gift. And watch one of the gifts of prudence. Put the verse up again. One of the gifts of prudence is the ability to foresee stuff. As finite human beings, one of the limitations on being a human being is that we're limited by time and space. All we can deal with right now is what time it is and what day it is. That's all we can deal with. We can't even deal with later on today. We can't deal with tonight. We can't deal with tomorrow. We are limited by time and space. There is a veil that shields us from the future, that leaves the future unknown, save unless God himself gives us a peek into the future and lets us foresee something. That's a gift. It's a gift for God to let me foresee something. It's my responsibility to do something about what I saw. Because I can't just foresee the danger, then I got to make precautions. See, some people can see the danger and don't make any precautions. Simple people don't even see it and they suffer. That's a double negative right there. To not be able to see something and still have to suffer when you go in there, because you would think, well, I ain't even see it, still going to suffer. If you suffer because you saw it, at least God let you see it. So I want to give you two plans from this verse. I'm going to first talk about plans, how to have a plan for landmines, danger. That's a plan not to fail. Then I'm going to close with having a plan for landmarks. That's a plan to succeed. Having landmines, we all have landmines we need to avoid. We all have landmarks we want to achieve. How do you make a plan for both? The first thing is always start with God. Every plan you have starts with God. Never make a plan without God. Proverbs 16:1 says this. We can make our own plans, but the Lord gives the right answer. Yeah. Proverbs 16:3, commit your actions to the Lord and your plans will succeed. God should always have veto power over our plans. God, I submit my plans to you because you know what's best. Start with a God plan. Here's the second thing. Always have a plan on how to avoid danger and evil in life. You got to have a plan like that. Dangerous environments, dangerous people lead to dangerous behavior. Some of y'all are real holy. I ain't that holy. You put me in the wrong environment around the wrong people, I'm going to be in trouble. So if there's an intersection between me and my future and certain people and places, I have to set precautions in place so that I don't cut up. Now, I know some of y'all are so spiritual, you can walk right through it. You can walk through a trap house and still have the blood. You still worshiping. I walk through a trap house. Y'all got to come get me. So you have to have precautions in place. Like some of y'all just playing your uptime. I got to plan my downtime. I ain't nothing I'm going to do when I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. It's when I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? When you're chilling, that's when you get in trouble. How many of you understand you can get in a lot of trouble when you're chilling? You got 7 hours of just free time. What you going to do? Everything's still open. Like you pacing the floor. Lord, just give me, it closed at 11. It's 4. Lord, just get me to 11. Just, what do I need to do? Who can I call? Where can I go? I just want to make it. See, y'all don't fight like that. I have to fight like that every day, especially when I'm in a breeding season. Because one of the ways, if I want to connect these two, one of the ways the enemy wants to get us is to have the kind of violation that makes us forfeit what we're delivering. Because some of the things we're delivering are so character sensitive that we can blow it with our behavior. Man, Y'all can all leave. I'd still be preaching. I'm preaching to myself. So you have to have a plan to avoid. Like if I know my history and my proclivities, I got to have a plan to be successful, a plan not to fail. Some of us just keep flowing. What's your avoiding evil plan? The prudent foresee the danger and they make precautions. You have to make precautions. When God, that's the gift of God. When God gives you foresight or insight, it's so that you would take oversight or responsibility so you won't have regret in hindsight. I'm rhyming like Jesse today. I'll say it again. When God gives you insight or foresight, it's so that you can take oversight and responsibility for the foresight and insight he gave you so you won't have regret in hindsight. How many of you know what it's like to feel regret in hindsight? You look back at something and say, man, I wish I should have did. I should have went with my intuition. I shouldn't have let them come over. I shouldn't have did. I shouldn't have went in on the deal. I shouldn't have signed my name to it. How many of y'all know what I'm talking about, what it's like to have hindsight? Isn't foresight better than hindsight? The prudent do up front what the simple do at the end. The simple say when they in trouble, oh, snap. The prudent say when they see it coming, oh snap, let me make precautions. In 1989, there was the earthquake of San Francisco that killed 63 people on a 2-level bridge. In 1971, when a similar event happened in the San Fernando Valley, no work was done to reinforce the bridge to prepare for the next time, so 58 people died in 1971. No work was done before 1989 to protect the people who died in 1989 when the 63 people died. I'm saying because, you know what? Prudent people foresee danger and they make precautions. Simple people go forward blindly, suffer the consequences. Anybody that studied Hurricane Katrina, not from a meteorologist standpoint, but from the structure of the levees that people knew in that area in Louisiana for years was unstable. The levee system had been talked about for years as being unsuitable for protecting the people there. If any investment had been made to support those people and protect those people, a lot less damage would have happened. But that's the difference. The prudent foresee danger and make precautions. Simple people go on blindly and suffer the consequences. In 2007, a bridge collapsed in Minneapolis area. It's the Mississippi River Bridge, it's I-35. The Mississippi River Bridge collapsed in 2007. 11 people were killed, 145 people were injured. Here's the truth. For over 2 decades, at several levels of government, it was clear that the structure of the bridge was not stable. And after inspections without corrections and after patchwork done, it put the lives of people in grave danger because prudent people foresee danger and they make precautions. Simple people go on and suffer the consequences because they go on blindly and they cause consequences for others. What I want to ask y'all is, what's coming down the pike in your life that you need to be making precautions for? What is it? What ominous thing do you feel coming? What about your car? You know that service light has been on in your car. And you're trying to rebuke the devil and stuff. You're going to be Ubering. Like, that's how practical it is. What about an appliance in your house that's important to you? And you done had Uncle Earl and Deacon Willie come over and look at it. You're going to have to call the people. You had to call Kim Moore or whoever them people are. What's coming? You got children that are getting older and they're going to want to go to school. And if you don't have the money, that's danger. What precautions are you putting in place? Or you just living willy-nilly? Whatever, que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. The simple go on blindly and suffer the consequences. What about your relationship? What about your health? Some of you had warning after warning after warning in your health, and you're not making any precautions. You're not adjusting. You're going to go on and suffer consequences. What's happening in your life that you need to be making precautions in? It is your responsibility. if he lets you see it, you're supposed to do something about it. Some of you are in a situation, in a relationship, it's a partnership, and there's such a disturbance in your soul about it. I didn't have to tell you. You've been disturbed in your soul about it, and you're hoping it goes away. It is your sign. It is your sight. It is the insight and foresight you need to take oversight so that you won't have regret in hindsight. And you know it. You know it. What are you going to do? I'm going to close with this. You can't just have a plan for landmines in your life. You got to have a plan for landmarks. How do you plan to succeed in life? We're talking about plans. I believe 5 questions frame every good plan. We can put all 5 of them up together. It really comes down to what, who, why, how, and when. If you got these 5 questions answered, you have a pretty solid plan. Your what is, what are you trying to get done? Well, you say, well, I want to, my goal is to establish a program for recovering addicts. I want to help people recover from addiction. Okay, that's your goal. That's your objective. Good. Okay, who's your target? Because there's food addiction, there's sex addiction, there's gambling addiction, there's drug addiction, alcohol addiction, all kinds of addiction. I think I want to focus on alcohol and drugs. Great. That's your who. That's your target. Well, who's going to be your team? That's going to be the people who are going to help you get it done. Because remember, you can't procreate alone. You got to have fertile partnerships. What resources are you going to use? Who's going to help you get this done? That's your team. Then why? Why are you doing it? Well, you know what? It's my purpose because I too was once a drug or alcoholic, drug addict. And now that I'm clean, I want to show other people how to get out. By the way, this is how you know what a person's, your ministry usually comes out of your misery. If you ever pay attention to what a person is showing people how to beat in life, it's because it used to beat them up. Ain't that good? Whatever used to beat you up is what you can show people how to beat, right? That's you don't have to figure out what a person been through. Look at what they helping people get out of. You understand what I'm saying? That makes sense? So God didn't get you out so you can just be out. He got you out. Now you got to show that map to people who are in. So that's my purpose. I want to help other people find the freedom I found. Okay, next question is, how are you going to do it? How? How are you going to do that? See if I can find a place to meet. If we can't find a place to meet, I'm gonna do it over my house every other Thursday. Okay? That's your actionable steps. Every other Thursday, we're going to open up the book. We're going to start with a curriculum, and we're going to have blah, blah. That's how we're going to do it. All right, when? When are you going to put on your calendar time vested in planning this, getting your training, getting your certification, writing your curriculum? When are you going to do that? Because let me tell you what Christians have mastered. I'm going to give you a little secret. Christian people have mastered the art of talking about stuff without doing it. And this is what we do. We say, hey, look, hey, Jeff, hey, I'm gonna start this thing, rehab for addicts, right? And they're gonna be over my house on Thursday. Got all the plan, got all the paperwork, and you dap me up and say, man, that's dope, man. That's no pun intended. Drugs, dope. That's dope. And then I leave, and I feel good because I told somebody what I'm gonna do. And then I go to the next person. I say, man, hey, this is what I'm going to do. We're going to over my house every other Thursday. We're going to do it. And see, what we do is we become masters at talking about it. Because if I talk about it, I feel good, but I never have to do it. That's why it's always dark. You just talk about it. You ain't going to never do it. You just always give a testimony about it. But the only people who finish are people who are faithful, focused, and fight. Ain't no shortcut to anything substantive and valuable. You ain't finished because you stopped fighting. And you ain't focused. And you're comfortable. Woo-hoo-hoo. This is some good stuff. I could just sit here all day and talk about this. Have you ever seen a baby come out comfortably? Don't it hurt? Even when they pull them out your stomach, they yanking you up and down off the bed like this is trauma. It is traumatic to deliver something. It is trauma to your whole world if you're going to deliver something of value. And what point am I on? When? When you going to block yourself? And when are your deadlines? I'm going to have this done by then. Like, I'm going to have my certification done by then. I'm going to get the application returned in by then. Like, when are you going to put yourself on a timeline? That's a plan. What? Who? Why? How? When? You can't just think it. You got to ink it. Then you got to talk to people about it who are going to hold you accountable to it. All right? Now, let me close like this. Y'all can go back to your seats. Thank you for sitting up here with me. It made me look. Let me close this like this. In my opinion, this is the most important part of the service. It's now, what am I going to do with what I heard? I was meeting with a guy the other day, and he was like, man, I've been preaching for 30 years, and I used to be a straight preacher. I was like, pull it. They call it pulling it. So I would preach. If you ain't stand up when I was preaching, I wouldn't stop till you stood. I was gonna say something about it. I had little runs I would do. I was just like, he's just like Coca-Cola. He adds life. He's just like Scotch tape. You can't see him, but you know he's there. Well, he's just like Maxwell House coffee, good to the last drop. He's just like Campbell's soup, good. But you was gonna get up. I was gonna entertain you till you got up. You know what? I don't do none of that no more. I came to the point where it was more important for me, where my performance was less important than your transformation. I mean, every now and then that thing will get on me. That thing come on me, but I ain't going to be doing that every day. And I said, the reason why is because if there's no application, even if the preaching is entertaining, it ain't going to help nobody. It just feels good. You need the kind of information and the kind of application that amends your situation, right? But it always comes down to you. What you going to do? What you going to do? What did you hear today that you're going to do something about? Even if you do one thing that moves you systemically in a positive direction, then it was worth coming today. If all you heard was something somebody else needed to hear, really? So you came to church, you've been in church all day, and all you heard was a word for somebody else. Like, here's your prayer. Lord, show me me. I want to get better. Show me how. Because this is when the real work starts. Not that I hear, will I heed. Let's pray. I don't know how this is going to unfold in your life. I don't know what you're breeding, and I don't know what your plans are. And I don't know if you're like me and you're always tempted to talk about how great you are. Talk about who you know and what you're doing. I don't know. But I think somewhere in this message is something that we can ask for God's help with to do better and to get better and to be better. And I pray that we'll do it now. There's something you wrote down on the paper or something that was seared in your heart that you need to make a decision about. Do it now. Make a commitment. Understand the fight that you're in. Understand the need for focus and faithfulness so that you can finish what God has given you. Father, I thank you for the opportunity and privilege to serve my brothers and sisters. And I just pray that you would help us to not just hear this message, but heed it. In Jesus' name, amen.